So microcirculation. So when you say microcirculation, what do we refer to? We refer to the circulation that's basically taking place at the smallest blood vessel, which is the capillary. So microcirculation is basically about what happens at the capillary. How is the circulation process? What happens there? And what is the effect of each of the factors? So this is what we need to uh, understand, read and understand. So capillaries, if you just correlate from what we did on in the last class, uh, you will see that capillaries are vessels where the movement of the blood is very slow, and therefore it's a good place for proper exchange of the oxygen or carbon dioxide or any other substances. So it is also well made for the exchange process. Now, exchange of nutrients, metabolic waste, and fluid between the vascular and interstitial compartment takes place through them. So, what becomes important here when you say about the circulation at the capillaries is the interstitial areas, because the filtration that is taking place here is closely tied to so many clinical conditions, and it should help you to understand or correlate the clinical situation better by understanding the microcirculation in the capillaries. Now, blood flow to the capillaries depend on the degree of vasoconstriction or relaxation of the arterioles and precapillary sphincters. So remember the key point here: degree of vasoconstriction or relaxation, that means the basically the diameter or the radius, and precapillary sphincters. Now just to remind you from your gross anatomy or histology that the veins and venules and the entire venous network has valves so that the flow of the blood is in one direction, so it doesn't go back. So these also have an effect on the overall flow pattern, and the flow pattern determines the exchange rate or the exchange quality, and as such they are interrelated. Not all capillaries are open in an organ all the time. This is an small but important point to note. We generally tend to think that all the capillaries are functioning at all the time, but it doesn't happen that way. All capillaries do not function at all the time, and as per the need of the body, the capillaries will be used or not used. Is similar to the situation that we had discussed in respiratory, where the all the alveoli are technically not fully functional to the full extent at all point of time, and that leaves space for the body to kind of tackle situations where the lungs need to be fuller and you need more oxygen while you're doing physical exercise or some other stuff like that. So moving ahead, how does the exchange of substances take place in the capillary wall? So the solutes and gases cross by simple diffusion. Now we are back to that discussion which was similar to the lipid bilayer discussion in your general physiology, that lipid soluble substances diffuse through the endothelium. For example, the carbon dioxide, the oxygen, steroid hormones, these can diffuse through the endothelium, and the reason is that they are lipid soluble. So by a process of simple diffusion, oxygen can cross the endothelium and reach the tissue, and carbon dioxide will cross the endothelium and move from the tissue side to the capillary side. Similar thing happened with the steroid hormones, which can cross and go and do their action. Now, though we'll be doing hormones after a while, but then let me just add here, right here actually, that hormones are something which is so powerful that you need only a small bit of that chemical to get the desired effect. And you can understand that if a small amount of hormone is produced and that too is diluted in the body with the 5 liters of blood, and in such a diluted condition, when it reaches a target organ, it can cause so much of biochemical changes. It means that this hormone are really powerful chemicals. Now, those things that are water soluble will go through the intercellular gap. So, just like the discussion and understanding is just like the cell membrane that we had read. So, things like glucose and amino acids will simply diffuse through the intercellular gaps and cross into the tissue. So, we have lipid soluble substance like oxygen and carbon dioxide, and water soluble substance like glucose and amino acids. Now, every time when we're doing the general physiology, at that time also we discussed, and right now also we are at the same concept, that the body does not allow the protein to move freely. So the bigger molecules like proteins will not be able to diffuse through and cross the membrane.